ஆழ்வார் எம்பெருமானார் ஜீயர் திருவடிகளே சரணம். ஜீயர் திருவடிகளே சரணம்.
An important question about tea, coffee, onion, garlic, etc. So why are these food items prohibited in our sampradayam? Why should we not consume them? That is the question. Ahara Niyamam is a very important aspect in the life of a Sri Vaishnava. One has to maintain proper Ahara Niyamam. Ahara Niyamam means regulated food consumption. One cannot just consume anything, but one has to see which food items which are allowed and which food items which are not allowed, and accept only those food items which are allowed. In this specifically, we see that the concept of prasadam is very important. Even the food items which are allowed, we should only consume those which are first offered, submitted to Bhagavan, Alvars, Acharyas, and then only we should consume. So it is not just some special list of food items, but it is more than that. It is also the food items which are first offered to Bhagavan, Alvars and Acharyas, and once they become prasadam, then only we can consume them. So that is the main concept here. The question about tea, coffee, especially relates to the current trend and practice. Many people are used to drinking tea and coffee and other hot beverages. There are various beverages which are available nowadays, and people drink those beverages, whether it is chocolate, milk, or any other beverage similar to that. So these are all basically new food items which are not there in the past. In our Sri Vaishnava Sampradayam, we see the food items being classified into three categories: Satvika food, Rajasika food, and Tamasika food. So Satvika means that which is very gentle, which is very good for the spiritual progress. Rajasika means that which will trigger our passion, our anger and so on. And then there is Tamasika, those food items which will lead us to laziness, sleepiness and so on. So among these food items, Satvika food items are only allowed for Sri Vaishnavas. Now, Sri Vaishnavas means it's not just Brahmanas but all Bhagavatas. Anyone who is taken to the path of Sri Vaishnava Sampradayam. So for such Bhagavatas, for such devotees, only Satvika food, that too which is offered to Bhagavan, Alvars Acharyas, is only to be accepted. So when we look at these food items such as tea, coffee and so on, they are not traditional food items. They were imported from other countries, foreign countries, and they became popular over time, that people became addicted to tea and coffee and other beverages. And some people, when they wake up early in the morning, they have to have a cup of coffee or tea, without which they cannot do anything. some of them will just start shivering, trembling if they don't drink coffee within the first 10-15 minutes of waking up. Such is the amount of addiction people have towards tea and coffee. Now these drinks have certain components such as caffeine. These ingredients, these components, they stimulate certain energy in the body and make the person who drinks that beverage feel more energetic and active. That's the illusion they go under, that by drinking this tea or coffee we become active, we become energetic and so on. But reality is that is not the case. It actually makes one become not only more dependent on those drinks, also they make the person somewhat dull, because when they drink that particular beverage they feel energetic, but moments after they'll feel tired and they'll feel down. So that is the after effect of these drinks. So those are not very good for the health. In general, we see that many health conscious people avoid tea and coffee and some other drinks as well, because they understand that it is not good for the system to stimulate it artificially, and it causes addiction and it causes headache in some cases and so on. We all know what are all the impacts of these drinks such as tea and coffee and so on. So anything which is not sattvika, anything which is not natural, anything which is not assisting us in our spiritual progress, obviously we should avoid such food items. Now one may ask, what is going to happen if we just drink tea or coffee, just a cup of tea or coffee? Is that going to be a big sin? Is Bhagavan going to get angry at us and punish us immediately and so on? That is not the point. The point is to ensure that we maintain our discipline, we maintain our ahara niyama, and we ensure that we accept only food items which are conducive for our spiritual growth. In Purvacharya Granthams, we see that one should not be very attached to food. One should not take food just for the taste of it. Rather, one should accept food, eat food to sustain oneself in this world. Because unless one has some strength, one cannot do any activity. Even to do Kainkaryam, one needs strength. So, one should eat food only to the extent of sustaining oneself and engaging in Kainkaryam. And one should also think that this food is offered to Bhagavan and it's a blessing. It's a prasadam which we have received from Bhagavan. So that is the thought process one should be while consuming any food. For that has to be prasadam. We cannot offer anything and everything to Bhagavan. Just because one likes tea or coffee, I know some people who would even offer tea or coffee to Bhagavan, but that is not the standard. It is not what is practiced by our Purvacharyas, that we only offer what is allowed to be offered. We don't offer to Bhagavan what is forbidden. So that is the concept. So one should ensure that one refrains from taking anything other than Bhagavad Prasadam, and in such case one cannot consume tea or coffee. If one really likes to have something warm, something which is pleasant, then obviously one can get some fresh cow milk and add some jaggery and offer to Perumal, Alvars and Acharyas and consume it. That can be done. If someone really needs something to be drunk in the morning, so at least follow what is in Shastram, except those food items which are acceptable. But it is not correct to drink tea and coffee and other beverages which are not allowed in Shastra in the name of sustaining oneself. So one has to practice, get rid of this habit. How to get rid of this habit? Because one may be used to it. So slowly start reducing the intake. Maybe if one is drinking 2-3 coffees per day, 2-3 cups of coffee per day, maybe one should reduce it to 1 first. And within a month, one can totally eradicate it and find some alternative. Maybe drink some hot water, drink some milk. Whatever is allowed in Shastram, just follow that and consume that particular beverage or food item. And also this habit of drinking coffee or tea without even taking bath. Many people just have to do it first thing in the morning is drinking these things. That must be completely avoided, because Shastram says that clearly one should eat only after taking bath, and of course performing Nitya Karmanushtanam such as Sandhya Vandanam or whatever applicable for the person's Varna and Ashrama. So only after completing one's Nityanushtanams, daily Karmanushtanams, one can consume anything, and that should be, whatever one consumes, that should be also prasadam. So all of these need to be considered, and one should ensure that only prasadam is consumed and not food beverages, drinks such as coffee, tea, which are all forbidden in Shastram. We cannot consume them, and one should certainly try to avoid them as much as possible and be freed from all those unnecessary addictions. So this is the question for, this is the answer for drinking tea, coffee. The same thing applies for onion, garlic, and all forbidden food items we must avoid. There is no excuse for it, because we become what we eat. Whatever we consume, that will have an impact on our spiritual progress. So we must ensure that we follow the proper ahara niyam.
ஆழ்வார் எம்பெருமானார் ஜீயர் திருவடிகளே சரணம், ஜீயர் திருவடிகளே சரணம்.
To learn such valuable information about our Sri Vaishnava Sampradaya, please download Koyil, KOYIL app from Google Play Store or Apple App Store. Our website is koyil.org, KOYIL.org.